So you want to make a 2D animated mech? This takes a long time since you need to make pixel art. It requires a moderate understanding how to build. For this tutorial you will need to find a sprite map online. But I'll just use this one for now. You only need to make the sprites of your character standing still, walking forward, and walking sideways. The other directions you can just mirror from the original ones. First count how high and wide each sprite is. For me it was 30 pixels tall and 20 pixels wide. Now take any block and scale it to 0.2. Now clone it to however big your sprite map was. 30 plastic blocks tall and 20 wide, just like the sprite map. Start with making the sprite of the character standing still regularly. Now, then clone the entire thing forward be 5 blocks, then start with the forwards walking cycle. Now here, cutting corners because Chris's walking cycle is just their body being mirrored. Now, just like that I have a full forward walking cycle. Make sure they are all exactly spaced be 5 blocks. I don't think you should include sprite showing the back of your character's head when walking backwards because it's ugly. Instead, you should copy each individual wall sprite that you have made so far and just turn them around. Now, you have a forward and backward walking animation. Now it's time for the left walking cycle. Now that you have a left walking cycle, you can just rotate it to make the right walking cycle. Now, we will need to cut out the sprites from the excess plastic like a cookie cutter. Then after select the whole thing button, select a pixel in the sprite, then anchor and collision off to make the excess come off. Now do that for every sprite. Now place a plastic block under the standing still sprite. Place a piston facing up and set the speed to max and length to 10. Place another piston and set speed to max and length to 5. Extend it. Now place a plastic block in it and scale it so the sides of the piston stand out. Now clone the entire thing by 5 blocks over and over. Maybe scale it up to make sure it's touching the sprite. It should look like this. Now, place down a switch and unbind it from everything. Now bind the switch only to the pistons on the bottom. Now place a wheel on the standing still sprite and center it. Unbind it and move it up by 15 blocks. Now make a pole coming from the bottom of the standing sprite up to the wheel. Add a piston and unbind it and set length to 5. Connect piston to the pole and make sure nothing is touching the black part of the wheel. Clone the wheel and piston and move it into a plus sign with the other wheel. Now move it out by 5 block studs. Now place a piston on the sideways wheel piston and set length to 5. Now connect the second wheel piston to the pole without touching the first wheel. Place down 2 delays and 4 logic gates. Connect the bottom delay to the top one. Connect the 2 logic gates next to each other twice see how they are connected to each other with 2 connections instead of 1. Turn it into a SR latch by making them both a NOR gate, NOT, or make the top logic gate a NAND gate and NOT. Connect the NAND gate to the second NOR gate. Connect the AND gate to the first NOR gate and the NAND gate. Connect the second NOR gate back and forth with the delay like how we did to make the SR latch. Now connect the second delay with the first NOR gate. The SR latch with the NAND gate allows me to make a loop with delays and be able to turn it off with the delays, making it repeat when activating the logic gates, while the AND gate starts the loop. The NAND gate also makes it so it doesn't get stuck looping even when off. Here's an example for when I turn it on with a switch. See how it's looping back and forth? I can use that for making walking animation. Make the delay time at like 0.2. Delete the switch if you did place 1. Place a sign, then copy it 3 more times so you can get a loop for every direction it walks in. Name each sign the direction it's assigned for. Add 2 logic gates and connect the second one to the switch. Make the second one also a NOR gate, not OR. Connect each and gate from the loops we just made in to the first logic gate, then turn it into a OR gate, then connect it to the second gate. Select the first sprite's piston and the first wheel's piston, then bind it to the second logic gate as well. Place down a car seat or pilot, it doesn't matter. Unbind, then save and reload to make sure it didn't screw up your pistons. Connect the second wheel extended piston to the switch. Connect the seat to the and gate loops with the keybind needed to move in that direction. Now connect each loop to its sprites like how I connected the forward loop to the sprites walking forward. Don't bind the first sprite to any loop. Now connect the forward and back and gate loops to the first wheel's piston. Connect the left and right and gate loops to the second wheel's piston. Place a titanium block on the first sprite, then move it above the wheels. Scale it to 10, then clone it into itself twice. Here, I forgot to show but connect the metal rod to the plastic bar that's holding up the wheels. Put a camera on the first sprite, then unbind it, then move it up by 10. Connect it to the same plastic bar, and collision off it along with the part holding it up. Connect it to the chair and set its keybind to F. Connect the chair to the first wheel and set its keybinds to W and S. Do the same for the second wheel but with the keybinds A and D. Turn up wheel torque and slow it down. Place a rope on the floor and connect it to the metal pole. Now, all you gotta do is make everything but the wheel's collision off, then make everything invisible. Please subscribe for my efforts. If you have a problem, tell me it in the comments and I could possibly tell you a solution. Please do not use my ideas or copy my builds without crediting me in the video. I've already had a couple of people steal my ideas then get popular off them. There is even a person that used my animated mechs idea without credit and no one knows who was the one that actually made them. My Sandevistan Mechanic Me Realistic Water Build Block by Block Me Floating Island Mechanican, my animated mech idea, and probably more. All things that have been used by other people in videos that have blown up yet no credit for me. Just please credit me if you ever use my idea, panic, or build in your videos.